What a time
to be alive.
Yes. Rome is in Drake mode right now because he's about to go to the Drake concert.
But
And
I'm also in recovery mode still.
yes.
Because like the last pod, I was a little under the weather, a little ill, and I'm still there. I'm actually on antibiotics now, which are killing my internal system. It's jacking me all the way up, but I do this for you.
We gonna bring the energy still.
Because the rebirth of life and love, something needed to be reborn. I know somebody is on their way to work right now or on their way home or taking a break from the kids who their relationship may not be in the best of place.
He preaching, y'all.
And they needed these words today. They needed to know, what do they need to know? Why relationships fail and what they can do about it.
Yes, how to overcome insecurities in your relationship. These are just a few of the topics we're going to talk about today. And Reverend Johnson over here is feeling the spirit because he wants to start preaching. I already feel it.
I'm feeling the spirit, but I'm a ease into it. It's like when you go swimming and the water is cold, you don't just dive. Well, okay, I dive in.
I was going to say, hold on,
people,
I tiptoe in.
Most people tiptoe in, so we're going to get there. So good sister, Deaconess, First Lady Johnson, how are you feeling today?
You know what? I'm feeling okay. This is the third week of being back in the office, back at work. Came back from maternity leave, and life has been lifing. We have been going through a serious transition, a period of change. We'll dive into that even more, but Rome got laid off over his leave, and so we decided the best thing for our family was for him to stay home and really just take care of Roman and be there in these really important times of his life. I'm in the office. I'm working my 9 to 5, going in office 2 days a week, and it has been a lot. No one prepared me for the transition back to work. When Callie arrived, we were in the hospital for 5 months, as you guys heard in the last episode on our parenthood journey. I returned from leave 4 days after she came home from the hospital, and we were in the middle of a pandemic. So I didn't go back to work in an office setting for a full year. So I got to be home and be in my own comfort zone. And now having to leave every morning or the mornings I go in, it's been a lot. I've had some drives where I'm just like, I don't want to leave. And when I come back and I see my baby smiling, I'm just so thankful. And I get the text messages from Rome, the pictures and the updates. But it's like, as much as it's hard for me to go, the benefits is I've been able to have some adult time. Whereas for you, Rome, it's been the opposite.
And on the flip side, for me, it has been one of the hardest transitions ever, only because like this transition seemed to happen during one of our busiest months for Callie. So we had appointment upon appointment upon therapy upon appointment upon procedure, and doing all of that, still caregiving the night shift, still in one of my Saturdays that I usually am able to take it a little easier, Saturday and Sunday, because Felicia's home. She had a work event on a Saturday, so then I was basically caring for most of that day, and so me and Romy went out and got a little lunch with my bro, and like there's just a lot going on, and I think it would be a little easier if I didn't feel like trash, like if I actually felt okay, like I'd be able to enjoy it more, because truly I have a routine and a system down. It's like once Roman is down for his early afternoon nap, that typically would be the time where I would go hang out with Callie, because Callie is awake and running around and doing Callie things. But I've been so sick and tired to where like Roman has to stay in the bed with me, and I'm not being able to engage with Callie as much, and just been living in the bed lately. And so these things, along with this type of transition, is why and how, and one of the reasons where you and your spouse or you and your partner start to have a little bit of a disconnect on things.
Yes.
Because your two worlds that are, constructed together under this roof are now, starting to veer apart. And, what tends to happen once it's veering apart is you just keep going this way, especially if you don't fully understand that in the moment what's happening, because there's going to come a point where it becomes too difficult to even go back. Like you almost made your bed. To give an example, to give a personal example, we kind of teased this before, but when Roman was born, we had our worst period we've ever had as a couple. And that's dating 12 years, married for 7, sustaining long distance relationship. Like we had our absolute worst years because our lives were different.
Yeah.
And you add this, amazing little boy who needs his mom. And one of the most interesting quotes I always think about was one of my friends, shout out to Luis, he said, when you have more than one kid and essentially a second kid, you're always playing defense. And I feel like with Callie, even though we both had to caregive, we both were able to relieve that other person so that other person can get their time to rest. With 2 kids, that little boy need his mama, the little girl need her daddy, but then the little boy gotta be kept by his daddy, and the little girl misses her mama. So we're us all, intermixing this whole parenthood, relationship, marriage journey.
Yeah.
And it just gets you complacent because you get so focused on them and their needs, and you completely ignore your own needs and your partner's needs.
No, I agree. That was tough. I feel like for us, you add in like a little bit of postpartum depression. And for me, I couldn't go back and think about like how things were with Callie and have an idea, second time around it's going to be similar. I felt like a new parent, a new mom. And so I had the frustrations of, why don't I know what to do? Why doesn't this feel innate of like, he needs this? And breastfeeding was tough. A newborn was tough. With Callie, she's in the hospital, so her nurses cared for her. We gave her the emotional support, but we weren't able to dive into all of the needs that she had. Roman came into this world, and I did not realize how attached to me he was going to be. How tough that first month of sleep would be. Because at this time, Callie also had 3 open nights. So you're in Callie's room at night. I'm in our room with Roman, and then the day hits, and then he needs me again in breastfeeding. And so we had to introduce that bottle, but there was frustrations on both of our ends of, you're not seeing what I'm going through. And I feel like, I'm like, well, I have it the worst. And you're like, no, well, I got health.
Chronic illness. I'm not even built to do this life.
And so I'm like, but you don't see me. We weren't seeing each other. And instead of sitting down and talking about it, I think we were just taking a lot of little jabs at each other. And then it just boiled over the
cascaded.
Top. It did, to a breaking point where I'm like, what is wrong? Why are you taking these digs at me? Why are you mad at me? And you're like, I'm not mad. And it's like, but something's going on. And we had to just sit and peel back some layers and realize that it was rooted in him not feeling supported in what he was going through health-wise, and me not feeling supported as a new second-time mom, and feeling like, okay, well, I can't breastfeed him. I can change his diaper here and there in the morning and do these things, but that's about it.
Yeah,
you were able, really quick, but you also were able, this was so hard for me, you were able to get up and go out. And you were hanging out with friends, you were meeting up with friends, because it was a chance for you to just have some you time. And I wanted you to have that, but I was also resenting you because you had that.
And then back context with that, because again, like we mentioned on previous episodes, where Felicia would go do something and I would stay home. And so I didn't do a lot, which was why I was this interesting time of now I have time, because this little boy doesn't actually require a lot of my attention. So I thought. And so what in turn I was doing was I was going to lunch with friends. I was I wasn't, out at the club or anything by any means, but if I wanted to go to the mall, I can go. If I wanted to go meet up with a friend, go have lunch, I could go. And I was almost trying to like make up for all of that time that I wasn't able to because I was so ill and so sick and just couldn't get out of bed. And so where, you know, we're out here today, and I think like the learning lesson, you know, and the first thing of why marriages fail or why relationships fail is couples don't have the common understanding. And I think, you know, like everything Felicia just said, our common understanding is, hey, you don't feel well. Hey, you are tied to this little boy because he needs to eat from you. He needs your nutrients from you. What I should have done in that situation was said, what can I do to make you feel more supported? Which in order to get there, because I did end up doing that, but we had our first, and yes, this is like crazy that we're saying it, we had our first kind of couples therapy session.
Yeah.
And that session was more of like we were both at our breaking point one day. Like Felicia was, again, going through postpartum. And I like, you know, quick sidebar, I've never truly felt supported with my chronic illness because most people don't know how it feels to live with it. So there are things that, you know, just innately that no one even thinks about doing to make life easier for me. So things are always hard. And so I got to the point where I was just like, and it was wrong delivery, but in a way I still stand on the fact that like, hey, you know, we have these double standards. Women going through postpartum can have a tough time, and everyone says like, oh, you know, do whatever she needs because she's carrying a whole human. Great, I understand that. But on my flip side is I have this disease inside of me that I can't control, that doesn't go away in 9 months, that I can't just pull away and one day my body's going to recover. And so I'm having to go through all of this journey by myself because I personally felt that, you know, I personally felt that Felicia at the time didn't do enough work to understand what I was going through. And so we had this instant clash.
Yeah. We weren't seeing each other. And
No, or hearing, seeing or hearing. And that's the issue.
that was. And I feel like a lot of other relationships allow that to continue to build up. And there's no, I need to communicate with my partner. And so for us, once we hit that point where for me too, like my emotions were so raw and I was just taking everything so personal. And I was just like, I don't know why. And I'm like, I just had a baby. I have all of these like hormones just floating through me right now. And I can't control them. And so I'm trying to remember what our breaking point is. I know I cried and I know you were like, wait, what? Like, what's going on right now? And I just had to sit down with you. And I feel like we both had to come from a point of, I want to hear the other person out rather than I want to be right.
Yeah.
You know, because if you want to be right and it's an argument, then that's where you fail. But for us, it was, you were in a place that I haven't seen you in and you don't feel supported from me. And to hear you say that too, it was just like, wait, I never want you to feel alone in this relationship. We both came into that conversation wanting resolution. We wanted to know what the problem was and how we could fix it. And when you have two people dedicated to the other individual and the care is there, the passion is there, the love is there, I feel like that is what helped and has saved us, because every time we go through this turmoil or a season of immense change, we're both looking at the other person like, wow, like I just don't want you to feel alone. I didn't want, that hurt me knowing that you felt like I wasn't giving my all to support you.
That was the breaking point. The breaking point was you feeling like you couldn't, well, yeah, I think it still took a minute to get there, because I think the first breaking point was like you felt that you could do no right.
Yeah.
And that was like the crushing part, because it was part of you probably like, once you felt that, you're like, I gave all that I can give. I don't know what else I can give. And then once we had the common understanding, it's just like, okay, what can I do? And I know at first, like, because you asked me a ton of times, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And it's always hard because this is something I'm navigating myself, and I can't always tell you what to do because I don't even know. So a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. And where does
Yeah,
that leave
that
us
was so
when I'm
tough.
like, I don't know? It leaves us in the same exact place. And this is where I think another thing of why relationships fail is the expectation of you needing to do what I do, and vice versa. Like I held you to an unfair standard because regardless, like, you're not me, you'll never be me, you'll never go through what I had to go through, and same.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Never ever. But what I was expecting
Actually,
you to
couldn't have a
do
baby.
was figure it out, huh?
Men can have babies
Men
now.
can have babies now. But I was expecting you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you needed more direction to figure it out. And that's when it's like, okay, let me get over my stuff and let's actually work towards the solution. And I mean, I think now I have a better understanding. I mean, I've always felt like I had a pretty good understanding of you, and just how you are and all that stuff like that. But then it's like the willingness to, like you said, understand
And
this is not
change.
about right or wrong. This is about making something
It's not about
last.
egos. Yes. You gotta leave the ego at the door. The moment you come in,
Don't even leave the ego at the door. Just ship it somewhere else. You don't want to see it.
don't even
'Cause
bring
if
it
you-
into the relationship.
Yeah, because if you leave it at the door, that means you can always go out the door and go
pick
back
it up
and get it. Yeah.
and bring it back in. Nah, don't bring that ego in here. And you guys are getting the real, the raw, because I almost feel like there's like another therapy session we're having right here in front of you. But
And real quick, that's why we wanted to bring this, because again, like, not everything has been great. Like, we want to keep the vulnerability. We want to tell these stories because we know there's somebody listening that needs this. Keep going.
exactly, there really is. And I feel like in that conversation, we learned a little bit more about communication style. Because you would think after 12 years, we would know exactly how to communicate with each other. But we continue to evolve. We continue to change in certain ways. Rebirth. But one thing that has been consistent is you don't like asking for help. And I'm the baby of my family. And I feel like I'm comfortable with asking for help. You know, my dad is someone, if you don't speak up and ask, then you might not get it. And so for you, I feel like that wasn't what you preach, and that's not how you live. And so I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna do it myself. And so because that's you put that on me as well. Felicia should figure it out. Felicia should just know how to get this done. Instead of I was waiting for you to say, hey, I could use your help in this. And so I had to start to open my eyes a little bit more and be more aware of your needs, because I had been so hyper focused on Callie, on Roman. Again, we were losing each other. And so you actually recommended us doing therapy. You had your own therapist and you said, I need you to hop on this call because I need her to hear your perspective.
Yep.
Because, which I appreciated, because you could have easily said, I'm gonna go talk to her and
I
talk.
could have flamed her, but I didn't.
Yeah. And you said what?
I said I could have flamed you, but I didn't.
Yeah, or framed it in a way that supported you and made you look good. But you're like, no, I need you to hear how she's feeling.
Yep.
And so it felt like a safe space because I was a little nervous of, this is your therapist. She's here to support you. And she heard me out. And it was just really good to have that third person to be able to talk to.
Yeah,
I feel like
the
we've
mediator, just the objective mediator.
Yeah, and I feel like we've had some of our biggest breakthroughs when we've had that third person. For instance, Rome's cousin was in town like a year ago, and we got into a little debate, and he was so great to be able to say, okay, Felicia, what I'm hearing from you is this. Rome, what I'm hearing from you is this. Can you see the other person's perspective in it? And to be able to have that third party was like, oh, okay, you calling me out, you calling him out. It was needed. And I feel like after that, every time we had a conversation or some kind of debate, it was, let me step back. Let me think of this from your perspective. And that's helped me. But also I've been trying to be better about not responding and reacting so fast. but sitting with something, thinking it through and being thoughtful in my response, because I know your triggers. And sometimes when I'm just react with a lot of emotion, he's like, you're not hearing me. You didn't take the time.
And mostly she doesn't hear me because Felicia is one of those that like, she hears that one buzzword and she goes with the buzzword, and it doesn't matter what else was said on either side of the buzzword. It's the buzzword. Like if I said like, oh, something weave was dope, you know, all she would hear was weave, be like, oh, you talking about my weave? Oh, this was laid good. Oh, these tracks is in like whoa, 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 whoa. I was actually not even talking about you for one. So like that's kind of how we had to be rung back in, and I have to be like, so when you're ready to like actually listen to what I'm saying, let me know so I can tell you and break it down. But truly, fellas, you want to make stuff work, I don't want to say take your ego out the door because I don't like that. But if you want to make stuff work, you literally, you know, if you have that third person you can go to, that mediator, you can go to one who's not friends with either of you, because we tried the friend route and all them friends that she brought in aren't here anymore. And so, you know, I kind of said that. But
all the friends that
I know, but
plural and stuff.
plural,
It's not.
It's one, but still, get that third person and just talk to them. Like, think about it like the sports metaphor, how you got the coach who is going to tell you everything that you're doing wrong, but it's out of like, they want you to be better. And so the reason why I had Felicia go talk to my therapist is because I literally told my therapist verbatim, I said, I want her to tell you what she told me so you and I can develop a plan to address that.
But right there is the key, is the fact that you were willing to change and to better yourself for us. And instead of being stubborn and stuck in your ways and saying, nah, I'm good, it's her. In the moment you start to put the blame on the other person, and that's when things really you start hearing the D word, the divorce word, because...
Call it D word. I was like, what is
the D word?
Yeah.
Divorce. But when you said that, when you're like, I want you to come to therapy because I want to be better for you, be better for us, I felt that, and it made me feel safe. It made me be ready. But I feel like so many people stray away from therapy because they feel therapy is the last... What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, there's a stigma behind it, and I understand. I get it. But
Last
the interesting
resort.
part is that the Black community has therapy really sounded like you got to be crazy to go to therapy. And it's just like, really blame our parents and our grandparents for putting that narrative out there, because they're the ones who took that and ran with it. But we have an opportunity to like nip that in the bud and go. Like, everybody should go. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't think you have anything to go about. Nah, you should definitely have someone to go talk to, because it's really, really helped.
Exactly. And so therapy is always the last resort. Like, oh, we're talking about divorce and now we need to go see a therapist to fix things. Therapy is good in the beginning to be able to help you as you evolve as a person, to be able to help you as you go through some arguments and chapters in life that aren't as easy as others have been. And so I feel like if you said about being on the defense, if you're on offense, you get therapy because you're proactive in knowing that there's going to be some bumps, but therapy is going to help me get the tools to be able to get through them and navigate any kind of bumps that we have in the road. But when I think about like why relationships are really failing today, I always feel like there's a lack of work on the beginning side of the foundation. I think there's a lot of relationships that have this idea that marriage is amazing. It is, but it's perfect. And that they get into it looking for a checklist. I want a life where this man can allow me to do lavish things, takes trips, or I'm looking for a man that has this type of, he's a doctor, or he looks this way. These checklists don't really dig deep into who the person is. And can that person be your friend? Can that person make you feel safe? Do they bring the best out of you? Do they want the best for you? When you start looking at values and characteristics that are so deeper than surface level, then it allows you to put the work in. So I feel like so many relationships don't have that strong foundation. and they speed through all the stages. Whereas you talk about our stages, we really took the time to get to know each other, to date, to live together, to be engaged. Like I had so many people like, oh, when's he gonna put a ring on it after year 2? And I'm like, we're not ready. There's things that we want to accomplish first. And by slowing things down and working on each other and working on me as an individual, I wasn't ready to be married at 25, 26. Like I need to be a good 29, 30 to be ready to be in this relationship, in a forever relationship. And so when you speed past all those early chapters and hop right in, then they fail.
Like she said, let's get to it. I've been sitting on this too long. Pause. Now, the reason why relationships fail, there's a few reasons.
For you.
So for
I
me,
said my reasons.
but it's really, I mean, you actually kind of stole my whole rollout, but that's okay. I'm going to just repeat it. The postable relationships. The reason why relationships fail is because everybody's looking for a postable relationship nowadays. They're 6 feet, have a beard, have abs, make 100K or something. There's like all these prerequisites that are like predetermined. Has nothing to do with emotional connection anymore. A lot of relationships start with the cheeks. I mean, that's where they start. And then they
Just
just
say with
have
sex.
Okay, or the cheeks. It starts there, and then that's like the first point, and then the relationship is kind of generated after. But right away, and again, do what the hell you want. I don't care what you do. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of the time, taking that jump first, that's what your relationship essentially becomes about. So then it's like, well, the dating aspect, you see on movies, you see in other conversations, like why this person, or like men don't like to date or take women on dates anymore, like was a thread going around. And it's kind of like, well, if the cheeks were already given up, there's no reason to go on a date now because you can just keep going back for what men want. Like, I think there's just a disconnect in all of that. Now, I'm not going to say, because that list was very woman heavy. I'm not going to say, well, no, I will say men also have their list too. They have to be thick. They have to have low body count. There's these certain things all the time. And the whole thread was essentially just like all of the nice guys that you used to see, like, I don't want to use the Russell Wilson type, but again, that's the kind of like language they were using. Like the good guy Russell Wilson, Rome Johnson types are finishing last.
Yeah, threw his name in there, y'all.
Because they want, this postable relationship. They want to post being in Tulum with their guy with a beard and abs and all that stuff like that.
Thing. Like it's looks, but like it's the vacations. It's
postable to be able to share on social media and show how amazing your relationship is.
Exactly. It's that it doesn't have any. There's no issues with it. Like behind closed doors, everything looks perfect, and that's how we present on Instagram and social media. We are doing all of the dances. We are going. He's flying me out everywhere, and I think you see that a lot from like celebrities. There's these relationship goals that people have. Sierra and Russell definitely are one. Everyone
There's
is
a lot of
one
goals. Gabby and D Wade were goals. Hov and Beyonce were goals. Like,
and all of them have had their own issues.
They've all had their own issues, but I mean, that's here nor there. Realistically, I think the way your relationship is built, rooted, I feel like has a lot to do with how it is in the future. Now, this is a little closer to home, but let's, hypothetically speaking, again, like I said, relationship starts with the physical over the mental. Now there's a child involved, and now because there's a child involved, there's pressure to have to be together and stay together, and then that doesn't work because the relationship wasn't rooted that way. and now, it's just messy for everyone, and then trauma's passed down, and now, you have the child who was, born out of that circumstance is now, that's how they learned about relationships.
And then
They
it just
learned the
cycled.
toxic ways, and then it just cycled, and it's like, oh, I don't want that, but I want this. And I do remember, again, early on when we were dating, like, just overall, generally, like, everything was about, you want the bad chick. Like, that's just what it was. It's everything to brag about. It wasn't so much to post on social media, but it was to brag about. And it's just like, I feel like so many people fall short, and so many people actually overlook someone who they already have that emotional connection with
Yeah.
over this other person. I don't want to keep cooking, but I have a lot of women friends who mess with athletes because they, for some odd reason,
They
think the
want the
athlete is going to
prize.
leave their woman and their life to be with them, and it never happens.
I think it stems down to the life they want, and the life they want is
The
maybe
postable.
it's luxurious, it's
Yeah.
trips, and it's not
Bags.
everybody, but maybe those are the things they want. And instead of looking within and how can I get that for myself, I think you're seeing way more boss women out there, and so you're seeing a lot of men that they want some sugar mamas out there. But back in the day, it there was a sense of the sugar daddies and wanting a man who can give you all those things in life. And I feel like us as women are we're coming back and we're taking what's ours and we're doing what we need to achieve all those things for ourselves. You're seeing a lot more women be single and be fine with being single and say, I don't need another man, a man or a person
Or a woman.
or a woman to give me anything in life that I can't get for myself.
Dang, what you guys coming back to take?
What's ours?
What's yours?
All of it. The
Okay.
bags, the trips,
Okay.
the life we want. I don't need to go find me a doctor. I can be the doctor.
I'm the doctor, actually. I'm daddy caregiver. Hello. In your mind, again, we kind of talked about this, but to sum it up, how should relationships be? Like, outside of, communication, like what are other things in your opinion that other people can do to ensure that they have this successful relationship?
I feel like understanding that it's a partnership and really loving the person who is next to you and caring about them in a way that you want the best for them. And when you understand who they are and what their needs are, you can show up the way that they need you. And I feel like there's so many relationships that don't look at their partner as someone that they can pour into. I feel like we have both taken the time to know that there will be moments where it is your time to shine. And I want you to shine. And I need to stand back and clap for you, be your cheerleader. And there are moments where it is my time. And I feel like it's my time right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am in a role right now and I am trying to make moves on the work side, and I'm trying to do speaking engagements. I'm trying to be this amazing mom, amazing wife. And you're giving me the grace to know, like, okay, get out there, get your bag, build your brand. And the fact that you're allowing me to have my season, it feels good because I do know that your season will come too. And sometimes our seasons are happening at the same time, but when you have kids too, it doesn't always happen like that.
Well, and again, like, you're shining for today and I'm shining for tomorrow. And that's where, like I said up top, the common understanding, where you want to go, where you want to build, how you want to build it.
Yeah.
And so, this is your season to do what you got to do. Like, you came home and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to cook today. And then what happened? You came home
cooking.
and you had,
My baby had prepped. He had prepped the whole week of food. I was not expecting that. And I was like, I needed that because I was tired.
I gave her a break because usually, another thing with feedback she gave me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, get back to your point in 1 second. Another piece of feedback she gave me, and I understand too, because when she comes in the house, I'm just like, here, take this little boy. Because like I've been with him all day. It's been a lot on me. And so like recently I've been like putting myself in that position. Like, would I want her to give me him or Callie as soon as I got home? And no. And so all of this week, if you notice, I've been like doing everything as I typically would and just having you take over a little bit later after you've been able to to settle down.
Well, that meant it was the little things that, like, you heard me out, and that meant a lot for me. But then, like you said, how should relationships be? It should be a partnership. And when you cooked, what did I do? I was like, all right, you done enough. Like, go sit down. I'm gonna clean these dishes.
She was cleaning anyway.
And
She just didn't know it. She didn't even know it.
I'm like, I'm gonna clean these dishes. I'm gonna put everything away, because when I do come home, I need to feed Roman, and I need to just have a minute to just, like, because I've been in traffic for an hour, just to sit for a second and then get into, like, the family dynamic. But knowing that you heard me meant a lot to me, and that you made that change. And I feel like there's not one way relationship should be. I just think people should understand they're not perfect.
I think you're right. There's not one way they should be, but they should all be trending towards success. Because if they're not, why are you even in it? Like, what's the point of being in a relationship? Success, that's a good question, but it's really set by you and the individual. Like, what does the individual see as successful for their relationship? Like ours, for example, I think success in our relationship is to be able to make this, you go to work, I stay at home, but me still bring in money for the future, me still taking care of the house, but me still, again, I say planning for the future, but that's because there's some investments that I already do that we're trying to diversify our portfolio and continue to do. And so our goals are both, emotional, they're financial, they're just genuine happiness. Because I think I can admit I'm not the happiest person, but I have to deal with a lot and manage a lot inside of me. Like, I have an extreme hormonal imbalance. And so I try to stay neutral as opposed to up and down. Otherwise it gets too up and too down just at the drop of a dime. And so, and just continue to pour into the kids. I think our relationship, is built around our kids, because the one thing you and I can both admit is that, like, everything we do is for them.
Right. Well, you said success, and I feel like success is what you make of it, and it's also what you plan for. And so we sit down, and our success looks different than others because we have 1 year goal, 3 year goal, 5 year goals. And we kind of bucket them into what are the goals we have for each other. So what's my goal? What's Rome's goal? What's the family? What's Callie's goal? And so what's the house goal? And by us being able to communicate that and know, like, are we moving towards that is key. Because right now we have our goals for Callie, and we want her to be able to talk. We want her to eat by mouth. And so every week, if there's times where things are just really tough, is what am I doing that week that's pouring into that goal? So she had a lot of appointments last week, and they were all around getting her to eat by mouth, helping with her GI system. So it's like, yes, we're tired, we're fatigued, but we just got one step closer to that goal. So it was worth it. And so, yes, but I feel like so many couples might not talk about their goals. And so success looks different, because success might just be like, I can tolerate this man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, people get content, and I feel like we are far from content. I want to be happy. I want to come home and enjoy the person I'm with and love and look at you and be like, I genuinely like being around you. And I don't think everyone can say that.
No, everyone can't say that.
About their person, not about you.
Yeah, I mean, people like being around me more than I like being around people.
Very true.
I actually do think you're 100% correct. Everybody should talk. Everybody should set goals. One of the dopest things I see, again, this is all social media stuff that is, like, allowing me to, like, impact my life. So it's dope. But what they said was this couple has, like, a couple meeting every Sunday. Again, you talk about goals, you talk about feelings, all that stuff like that. And we did that at one point. We incorporated that, and we didn't continue, but I feel like it's always an ongoing conversation because, again, our eye is on the prize from the standpoint that we know how to get there. But I don't remember this creator's name, but she created a viral video that talked about being unhappily married. Now, the reason why this is relevant, again, is because you said success to some people could just be to be content.
Yeah.
And that messed me up for a minute because I'm like, dang. I'm like, it's true because I want to be sensitive to the fact that there are some relationships, abusive or whatever, it's very difficult to get out of. And so maybe, just being in that content stage is, success in their mind. But the aspect of being unhappily married got me because I was like, well, how would that work? And then I was like, oh my God, I get what sis was saying now.
What's she saying?
So she essentially said, to paraphrase, to be unhappily married is to still be married even in times of like turmoil. And what I mean by that, to break that down even more. So like, for example, we have a fight, we have an argument. Neither one of us is just going to go out there and like cheat because we're mad.
Gotcha.
And so she was saying you have to learn because marriage brings a lot of hurdles, a lot of turmoil. And we were, that first few months of Roman's life, we were unhappily married.
Yeah.
And so that's why it got.
But we didn't give up on each other.
No. Well, clearly we're here doing the rebirth.
But it's also
girl, tell your daddy.
Oops, mama, sorry. But it's also knowing that unhappily married seasons will come into your relationship.
Right.
And that you will get through it, but you have to get through it because neither one of us are quitters. Neither one of us are like, ooh, times get hard. We done. We're both fighters. And I feel like because we have two people who are fighters in everything in their life, we're going to fight for each other at all times.
Right. And again, you fight for what you believe in, what you think you deserve. And that's all we want for people. I said it last few episodes. If it's worth it to you, make it work.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up. But
so what was she talking about? She was just saying that you have.
She was saying that like being unhappily married is something that she had to learn to do because again, there's all these things that happen in marriage, and it got me instantly thinking about the going to bed mad conversation. And I know people say that stuff. I don't believe it because I know people have gone to bed pissed off and just like tucked it and didn't say anything about it. I'm completely fine going to bed being pissed off because I'm just like, if I'm tired, this is not happening right now. I'm going to sleep because again, my priorities change, and the priority of sleep and what I need physically and mentally is going to overshadow that argument we were having.
Y'all not
and
for
so
me. That's why there's been some nights where we up at 2 a.m. because I'm the person that Rome's like about to hit the bed, his head hits the pillow, and I'm like, actually, let's talk about this. And he can't stand it. We've got this rule, like no deep conversations after 10.
Yeah, no.
But
Felicia, the type to like, I swear she waits till like I'm about to like actually lay down. Like I got my eye mask on, and she waits till I'm, oh, can I just tell you this one more thing?
It is,
and
never,
I'm just like, sis.
It's never short, y'all. It's a long because I'm a night owl, and I just feel like my mind it just clicks at night for me. But I cannot go to bed mad because it's just, I'm not going to actually go to bed. It's going to be on my mind. I'm an overthinker. So if we get in an argument and it feels like it's not totally resolved and I am like holding on to that one thing you said, I'm like, we got to talk about this. So when you said this, what did you actually mean? And we've had some deep conversation like late into the night because of that. Because I just know I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. That's just us and that's just me. But it's like, how do you find that balance when you have one person that's like, I'm over this conversation, the other person that's like, I need to know more.
I'm trying to find the video right now so it'll make the most sense. Here we go.
One day I feel like I was in DC, and this guy hit on me, right? So he came up to me. He was like, hey, what's up? You married? I'm going to try to talk like a DC guy. Well, no, I'm not, because they sound crazy. No offense to all my DC fam. But he said, hey, you married? And I was like, yes. And he said, you happy? He said it like that, like it was like a drop the mic. He was like, you happy? And I was like, no, and? And the reason why I said no was because, one, I'm brutally honest, and two, I was not happy at the time. But what does me being unhappy have to do with whether or not you have a shot? Here's the thing I realized. A lot of married people don't know how to be unhappily married and still not walk away. If you could learn how to be unhappy for a minute, your marriage will last. Because the goal in marriage is not happiness. The goal is to build a lasting relationship that withstands the ebbs and flows of marriage, of relationships, of people. And so some of y'all need to learn how to be unhappily married and still be content.
And I want to give this creator her just due, because this video, she has so many people mad at this. Like, they was mad. Her name is _ so at _ Erica Berry _ ERICABERRY _
Well, they were
So,
probably mad because they're, like they said, happiness is the root. Like, is that what success looks like for them? Is happiness. But maybe success is not happiness for all people.
Which is not. So I kind of, I still stand in it, because from, happiness is so subjective, to where happiness could be financial happiness. It could be long-lasting relationship. Because again, and I'll speak for myself for a second. Can I be in a long relationship unhappy and just content? No. There's, like, if it lasts too long, there's got to be a point to where you're just like, all right, bro, you got to figure this out. But no, like, she hit it on the head. Everybody should learn to do that. Like, you don't have to go SOS run to another dude or another woman or anything because you're having marital issues. Like, seasons happen in marriage. That's
do.
just it. I'll leave it at that.
We're going to leave it at that, y'all. We're going to wrap it up because we can get into the topic even more. But when we come back, because we didn't even tell you this is episode 7, but when we come back for episode 8, we're going to talk a little bit more about insecurities in relationships, healthy relationships, what toxic relationships look like. And we're going to continue to be real.
And we're going to talk about, should your spouse have a curfew when they go out?
Wait, what?
Yeah, should your spouse have a curfew when they go out?
Oh, because you're about to go out? So should I put a curfew on you?
No, my stance is you're going to have to wait and see.
All right, y'all, come back. If you guys don't, if you're listening to us on Apple, on Spotify, well, then you should know that you can also be watching us on YouTube at the Rebirth of Life in Love, RLL podcast on Instagram. So follow us, subscribe, watch, listen, and you know what? Can you share this with a friend? We would appreciate it so much.
Yes, if there's any friend that is going through it that needs Reverend Rome's advice, send it to him. And Sister Johnson, send it to him, and leave us a comment what you think and what you want to hear. We're always open for topics because I'm happy to discuss.
Yeah.
So,
but I also want to say, I want to know what success looks like for your relationship. That's the comment I want to know.
that is exactly what I want to know too.
Bye, guys.
All right, y'all.